After Kevin, Lily, and their friends got out of the limo, Jason let the group of men get in so they could drive them to the hospital. But it turned out they didn't need help at all. They were robbers. The gang's leader ripped Jason's watch right off his wrist.
"That's what I expected from a rich kid like you. I'll bet this watch is worth a few $100,000, the man said happily.
As soon as he said this, the man who was holding the bag suddenly got very excited. "Quick! Hand it over to me!" The group of robbers were very happy. It looked like they could get at least $1 million from their rich victims. With that much money, it would be easy to change their identities and move to another town.
"It's best if you hand your things over willingly. Don't force us to search you, okay? If you resist, things could get a lot worse," the group's leader said coldly.
Officer Emmett felt horrible about this, but she couldn't figure out how Kevin could stand up to bank robbers but not get involved in this situation. But she couldn't dwell on that right now. Blair and the rest of them were very reluctant to take off their valuables and put them in the black bag. Finally, the gang leader said again,
"Thank you for your cooperation. We only have one more request. In 1 minute, you're going to get out of the car and stand outside."
What choice did they have? They all got out of the car and split up into 2 rows according to the robbers' instructions. The thieves made them hold their hands on their heads like they were under arrest. Some of the more fearful people in the group started to shake. Then the leader of the gang smiled lewdly and reached out to touch Officer Emmett's face. It looked like he had other things in mind than just a robbery. "Get lost, you scum!" Officer Emmett said in disgust as she slapped the man's hand away.
"So, you'd rather play the martyr," he said.
Then he turned around and put his knife on the neck of one of the men from Jason's group.
"I know how to handle martyrs. You're a police officer, aren't you? Then you're responsible for the safety of everyone here. If you resist me again, this man dies."
The man started to tremble even more when he heard this and felt like he was going to faint. Officer Emmett tightly clenched her fists. With her martial arts skills, dealing with these robbers wouldn't be a problem at all. But now, there were hostages to worry about. Almost subconsciously, Officer Emmett looked over at Blair, but he was too scared to offer any resistance. She was disappointed to see him like that. The leader was very pleased with himself. He reached out to touch Officer Emmett again, but as he extended his hand, someone seized it firmly.
"Who the hell are you?"
the man roared as he turned his head to see who had grabbed his wrist. "If you're going to rob us, then just do it and move on. Try anything else and you'll regret it," Kevin warned him. After Kevin had left with the others, he asked Dalton to protect Lily, Phoebe, and Miranda so he could run back to the limo.
"Do you have a death wish?"
the man yelled furiously. Then he slashed at Kevin with his knife. Kevin grunted and gave the man a quick, powerful sidekick in the gut, sending him flying 10 feet away. "You guys are the worst robbers I've ever seen," Kevin scoffed.
"Kevin, quick, save me!"
Jason yelled excitedly. He remembered what Kevin had done to Merriweather, and he knew that he could rescue them from these robbers.
"You should have kept running instead of coming back here to die," the man growled as he got up from the ground. "What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and kill this bastard!"
The man turned around and shouted at the other robbers. Hearing this, they immediately rushed towards Kevin. "Kevin, be careful!" Officer Emmett cried out in alarm. "Don't worry," Kevin replied to her. But he didn't retreat. Instead, he took a step forward towards the men. When the first man threw a punch at Kevin, he deflected it and then punched him in the stomach. The man dropped to his knees, unable to breathe. When the other men saw Kevin take out their best fighter so quickly, they stopped in their tracks. Jason, Blair, and the others also stared in disbelief. Was Kevin really that powerful? "Is he okay?" the second robber asked frantically. Before the man could answer, Kevin kneed him in the chest. "He's just going to take a little nap," Kevin said. After letting out a muffled groan, the man lay down on the ground and didn't move at all. "Shut the hell up!" the second man screamed as he raised his knife and quickly rushed towards Kevin. Then he slashed at Kevin's head. The strike could have killed him, but in the next second, Kevin grabbed the man by the wrist and kicked him hard in the shin. There was a cracking sound as the bone snapped. Then Kevin quickly reached out his other hand and grabbed him by the waist. He lifted his attacker up and threw him at the other two men. The three of them fell to the ground in a heap. The one who had tried to kill Kevin lay on the ground holding his broken legs, screaming in agony. After seeing the four armed robbers fall to the ground so quickly, Blair jumped up in excitement and shouted, "What a beautiful fight!" The hostages smiled as they saw a glimmer of hope. A couple even started to cheer Kevin on. But their hopes were dashed when they heard a gunshot suddenly ring out. The head of the gang had shot out one of the windows of the limo.
"Why don't you try that with me?" The man snarled ferociously as he pointed his gun at Kevin.
"Hey, I didn't know you were carrying any guns with you," Kevin replied without flinching. Instead, he said calmly, "Why don't you try to shoot me instead of an innocent car? Let's see if you can hit me."
"Are you actually daring me to shoot you?"
he asked contemptuously. "Do you want to try?" Kevin asked jokingly as he furrowed his brow. "Kevin!" Officer Emmett shouted anxiously when she heard him say this. Of course, she saw through Kevin's strategy. It was the same thing he'd done during the bank robbery. He was trying to draw the man away so he wouldn't hurt the others. Kevin was very casual about it. He waved at Officer Emmett and then said to the gang's leader, "If you don't shoot me now, you may not get another chance." The man shouted as he pulled the trigger. As the gunshot rang out, blood burst from Kevin's shoulder. Fortunately, it wasn't in a vital organ. Kevin grunted and his face turned pale. The man yelled again. He didn't want Kevin to get off so easily. Just as he was about to fire a second time, Dalton showed up and grabbed the man's arm forcefully. Then he gave him a solid punch to the head. The man dropped immediately to the ground unconscious. "Kevin!" Lily and Phoebe exclaimed almost at the same time as they quickly ran over to him.
"Are you okay?"
Dalton called out in concern, but then he saw the other two men getting up off the ground. Dalton shouted as he clenched his fist and ran toward the two men. He knocked them both out in two swings. Just then, the one whose leg Kevin had broken pulled a pistol out of his pocket. Perhaps it was because he was in such pain from his broken leg, but he wasn't able to steady the gun when he fired it, and he ended up shooting Kevin in the back.
"Damn it!"
Dalton shouted when he saw this. He ran over to the man and kicked the gun out of his hand. Then he knocked him out cold. That's when Kevin fell to the ground. While he was unconscious, Kevin felt like he was having a long dream. When he woke up, he found himself in a hospital. "Kevin, you finally woke up," Lily said excitedly as she grabbed his right hand. She had been at his bedside all night. "How long have I been unconscious?" Kevin asked. His face still looked very pale. "You've been here for a day and night," Lily sobbed. During the whole time, Lily had been afraid that Kevin would never wake up. "Kevin, promise me one thing. In the future, if we ever get in the same situation again, don't be so brave, okay? The doctor said the bullet struck close to your heart, less than 2 inches away." Lily's voice became softer and softer as she spoke. Her eyes were red from all her crying. "Lily, please don't cry. If you cry, you'll just make me sad," Kevin said with a bitter smile. He knew that he had to do what he did to keep the others from being hurt. "I don't care. You must promise me. If something happened to you, I don't know what I'd do," Lily said shyly. Hearing this made Kevin happy. "Okay, I promise," Kevin said as he forced a smile. "I'm sorry I scared you." After a moment, he said, "Let me give you a kiss." "I don't want to," Lily said as she immediately stopped crying and took a step back from the hospital bed. Kevin shook his head in confusion. Then he looked around the room and asked her, "Lily, where are we? I didn't know hospitals around here were so luxurious." "This is a private hospital opened by the Steele family. Speaking of which, you really have to thank Dalton Steele. If he hadn't invited the best doctor, your surgery wouldn't have gone so smoothly," Lily told him. She was still afraid he wouldn't survive the shooting. "Where's Dalton now?" Kevin asked. Of course, Dalton hadn't forgotten him, but he had some preparations to take care of. "It's his grandfather's birthday in 2 days," Lily explained. "Dalton is busy taking care of the guests in his home. He also said that when you wake up, I should give him a call." As Lily spoke, she took out her phone. Kevin looked up at the ceiling. Even though he'd just been critically injured, he was grateful to have made a friend like Dalton. After Lily finished the call, Kevin asked her, "Do you know where Dalton's home is?" "Why? Do you want to go over there?" "I think you need to recover from your injuries." "Anyway, he just said that he'd be right over," Lily said worriedly. While this was going on, Mitchell Cook, Adriana Wright, and the other three were sitting together in a private room in the Whistler Hotel. They were discussing their plans for an ecological garden. They were interrupted by the crash of the room's door being kicked open. Thomas Williams, Kevin's uncle, looked at them with a furious expression in his eyes.
"Who the hell are you? Get out of here immediately!" Cook shouted fiercely.
"Who do you think you are? How dare you yell at me?" Thomas Williams growled at him. "You're just Kevin's flunkies. What are you doing eating in such a nice hotel?" Mitchell was irritated to hear him talking like this.
"Who the hell are you? How dare you behave so shamefully in my hotel?"
"My name is Thomas Williams," he said proudly. "If Kevin were here, he'd have to answer to me. That gives you an idea of my importance." Adrian and the others looked at each other in disbelief when they heard him say this. They knew right away who he was. "So what if you're from the Williams family? This is Chicago, not New York. You're a long way from home," Emo Squire said seriously. "Is that supposed to be a warning?" Thomas said gravely. "Take them all away. Let's see how long Kevin survives without his buddies." They had no idea what Thomas had in mind. Kevin's uncle Thomas burst into the meeting at the Whistler Hotel and ordered his men to take Cook, Adriana, and the others hostage. He was trying to weaken Kevin's position by removing his friends from the equation. "What right do you have to do this to us? And what right do you have to help Kevin? You don't know what's good for you, and you've been siding with Kevin against the entire Williams family. Now Grandpa's given me the order for me to come here to Chicago to handle this. I'll take you all back to New York as our guests."
"Grandpa Williams? You mean Randall Williams?"
How could anyone not know who Randall Williams was? The Williams family was the most wealthy family and powerful one in New York, and Randall was the pillar of the family. However, he hadn't been seen in public in years. Thomas didn't want to waste any more time with Mitchell Cook. He told his men, "Take him away." Then he turned around and walked towards the door. When he got to the main hall, Drake saw Thomas walking towards him. "Who the hell are you? What are you doing here?" Drake asked when he saw Cook and the others being held against their will. "Take care of them," Thomas said. Just when Drake was about to lose his temper and stop Thomas, he felt someone touch his shoulder. "Who are you?" Drake roared impatiently. The man quickly struck Drake in the chest with the palm of his hand, sending him flying and crashing into several tables. Drake was in intense pain from the blow. He got up from the floor and shouted at his bodyguards, "Kill him!" Before the men could respond to Drake's order, the man leapt into the middle of them. In a few quick moves, he knocked them all to the floor. Thomas suddenly stopped in the doorway. He turned around, looked Drake in the eyes, and said, "I'll spare your life. Go and tell Kevin that if he cares about these people's lives, he should go back to New York City. Alone. I'll wait for him in the main hall of the Williams mansion." Then Thomas waved his hand at his guard. The man understood what he meant. He quickly went up to Drake and knocked him out with a single punch. After Thomas left with his men, the Whistler Hotel staff checked Drake to see if he was okay while one of them called an ambulance. They knew very well that anyone who could take Cook and Adriana away like that was someone they didn't want to mess with. While all this was going on, Dalton Steele was just arriving at the hospital. When he saw Kevin sitting up in his bed, he smiled broadly.
"Hey, Kevin, I knew you'd pull through, and you were right about everything."
"I hope I can get out of here soon."
"You're lucky you're not dead," Dalton said with great concern.
Kevin didn't want to argue with him about this. Then he asked, "Do you have a lot of guests to take care of? What are you doing here with me?"
"Those people don't need my help with anything. Besides, I'd rather be here cheering you up."
Kevin was a little irked when he heard Dalton say this, and he was tempted to turn away from him. "Hey, I don't need any help, and I don't need any cheering up."
"Hey, it's not the same thing. My grandfather, Norman Steele, asked me to invite you to come over to our house.
Lily looked at Dalton in shock. She couldn't believe what she just heard. The Steele family was very important in the Chicago region, and even though Norman Steele had long since retired from business, he still had a lot of clout. Lily knew that Kevin could really move up in the world if he impressed the man. For your grandfather's birthday? Of course I'll go.
That's great. I'm happy to see you're doing better. By the way, my family actually owns this hospital. If you need anything at all, don't be afraid to ask. They'll take care of you. Let's have a drink after you get out of here.
Are you leaving already? Kevin teased Dalton. What am I, chopped liver?
Come on, Kevin. Who said I'm leaving? Dalton replied calmly. By the way, when you recover from your injuries, I have something very important to tell you. I've got big plans for us, brother.
Why can't you tell me now? This is a private room, after all.
Okay, why not? On the 23rd of this month, there will be an important competition, an entrance exam. If you pass it, you can enter the Advanced Herbal Medicine program at the Chicago School for the Natural Healing Arts. From what I heard, they only have 15 slots, but anyone can take the exam.
What does this have to do with me? It's not like I'm planning to go there.
I thought you just might be interested. You know how everyone's trying to find herbal and natural ways to improve their strength and sharpness. Anyone who finishes this program is guaranteed to be very successful. If you do really well there, the sky's the limit.
Don't tell me you don't think you're already a success, Kevin said as he gave Dalton a puzzled look. Although they hadn't known each other for a long time, Dalton didn't strike Kevin as being greedy.
Who said I don't feel like a success? But Kevin, you have no idea how important this is. It could really give your career a boost. They have some of the best teachers in the world, real experts. I saw what you did to help my wife. Just from what you learned on your own, imagine what you could do with the right guidance.
Lily had been sitting patiently on the armchair in the corner, and she had no idea what the two of them were talking about. Okay, Dalton, let's talk about this later. I think we must be boring the heck out of Lily right now.
Okay. The exam's not for another 10 days anyway, Dalton agreed.
Most people had no idea any of this was going on and just took the regular vitamins and minerals that their doctors gave them. But what Dalton was talking about was on another level altogether.
Kevin, why don't you just get out of that bed? I've got nothing going on right now. Come on over to my house and we'll sit down and talk.
No problem. Are you really okay? I'm fine, Lily. You know how tough I am. I mean, I was only shot twice, Kevin boasted. If you don't believe me, we can try to consummate our marriage tonight. Don't embarrass me, Kevin, Lily said shyly. Kevin smiled and slowly got out of bed with some help from Dalton. About an hour later, the three of them pulled up in front of the mansion and walked inside. Norman Steele was sitting at the head of the table, chatting happily with the guests who had come to see him. Among the many guests, Kevin spotted an acquaintance. It was Tucker, whom he had recently seen at his class reunion.
Kevin, come over here and let me introduce you. This is my grandfather, Norman Steele, Dalton said eagerly. Grandpa, this is my friend Kevin.
Norman smiled and nodded at Kevin. It's nice to meet one of my grandson's friends. Have a seat and enjoy yourself. Thank you, sir, Kevin said politely. After that, he took Lily over to introduce her to Tucker. Hey, Tucker, I didn't expect to meet you here. And I didn't expect to see the Jones family's infamous lazy son-in-law, Tucker replied coldly. A few of the guests heard this and started to whisper to each other. They'd heard about Kevin from the rumors Jason had been spreading around town. The way he was dressed didn't help make a good first impression either. Dalton pretended not to hear what they were saying. He walked over to Kevin and Tucker and asked with a smile,
Are you two friends?
Before Kevin could say anything, Tucker answered first. You must be joking. Who would be friends with trash like him? After saying that, Tucker took a long look at Dalton and then glanced over at Lily. Actually, Tucker was mainly there for two reasons. The first was to help his sister give Norman Steele a gift so that she could make a connection with the family and get a job in one of their companies. Second, he wanted to make friends with Dalton. After all, he was a well-known figure in Chicago. Tucker thought that if he could become friends with him, it would help him to get ahead. However, Tucker had never thought that he would run into Kevin at a Steele family party. "Please forgive me, Mr. Steele. I have to excuse myself." After saying this, Tucker turned around and left, as if he didn't want anyone to know that he had some kind of relationship with Kevin. "Who was that, Kevin?" "No one. He's just a mixed-up guy I know from school." Tucker immediately stopped when he heard him say that. He turned his head to look at Kevin and said loudly, "What did you just say? You're nobody. How dare you say something like that about me?" "I can say anything I want, loudmouth," Kevin said contemptuously. This was upsetting for Kevin. He hadn't provoked Tucker, but here the guy was trying to embarrass him in front of everybody. So Kevin figured he didn't have to be nice to him anymore. "You're a nobody," Tucker snarled. "You wouldn't even be here today if you hadn't married into the Jones family." Then Tucker sneered and said, "Haven't you come here with your wife to give Mr. Steele a gift?" "Oh, really? Aren't you also here to give the gentleman a gift? I haven't heard about you making a name for yourself lately. How can you afford to get Mr. Steele a decent present?" "I'm here to offer my sister's gift on her behalf," Tucker said proudly. "Your sister? So then the gift really isn't from you." The people around them immediately reacted to this. How could Tucker be showing off like this when he hadn't even brought his own gift for Grandpa Steele? This got Tucker even angrier. "So what's it to you? You're such a jerk that you don't even deserve to know her name." "What? You really don't think I know who your sister is?" Kevin asked in a mocking tone. After all, he knew just about everybody at his old school. But Kevin had an even bigger surprise in store for Tucker. Although Tucker was pretty much a nobody in this crowd, his sister had a wonderful reputation and nobody wanted to say anything that would upset her. As for Kevin, everybody had heard the nasty things Jason Jones had been saying about him. Grandpa Steele had been watching all of this from his comfortable chair. As he looked at Kevin, he seemed to be in deep thought. It was as if he could see a little bit of his younger self in Kevin's appearance. When he arrived in Chicago years ago, Norman had no money and no status, but he made up for it with guts and determination. So Grandpa Steele wanted to see what Kevin would do to turn the situation around. "Now that you mention it, I'm kind of curious. Who exactly is this sister of yours?" "Never mind. I'll just show you her gift and you'll know what kind of person she is." When he was finished speaking, Tucker opened the package and pulled out a beautiful set of watches. At first glance, it must have been worth a fortune. "Not bad. But you didn't pay for them yourself," Kevin said with a mocking smile. "Since I'm here to celebrate Norman Steele's birthday, I certainly wouldn't come empty-handed. Unlike some people." Tucker glared at Kevin and it was obvious he was talking about him. Then he took another present from the table and opened it. "This is an authentic bust of the Greek god Apollo from over 300 years ago. It's to remind everyone of your eternal reputation, Mr. Steele," Tucker said proudly. The guests were very impressed by this gift, which must have been worth $100,000. There was no way that Kevin could do better. And it was sure to help his sister get her foot in the door with the Steele's family business. Even Dalton walked over to take a closer look. He definitely appreciated the craftsmanship. As Kevin watched, his smile grew wider and wider. "What are you laughing at? Did you bring anything that's worth this much?" "I'm laughing at you, Tucker. Let me ask you, how much did you spend on this thing?" $110,000, Tucker said as he proudly lifted his chin. If this were a real 18th century bust of Apollo, that would be a fair price. Unfortunately, the box is probably worth about as much as your gift. "Kevin, don't talk nonsense," Lily said as she worriedly looked over at Norman Steele. "What do you mean? Are you saying that this is a fake?" "Do you know where a bust like this would come from?"
"Kevin, do you know how to appraise antiques?"
Kevin nodded his head in response to Dalton's question. "The original bust is actually in Italy," he explained. "That's the first reason I know it's not authentic," Kevin continued. "But also, if you look closely, it's not even really marble. It's probably a plaster cast that was coated in urethane and painted to look like marble. It would make a nice bathroom decoration, but it's certainly not a gift worthy of a distinguished person like Mr. Steele." "You're talking nonsense. How can you be so sure this is a fake?" He had actually bought it from one of his uncles. Tucker just couldn't believe that his uncle would lie to him and put him in an embarrassing position like this. Believe what you want. He was tired of dealing with Tucker's nonsense. Kevin picked up the bust and dropped it lightly on the table. As everyone watched, the so-called marble bust broke apart into a dusty pile of plaster. The crowd gasped when they saw this. They'd all thought it was a genuine marble bust of Apollo from the 1700s. I'm sorry I had to do that, but Mr. Steele had to find out sooner or later. Then he turned to look at Dalton. After thinking for a moment, the next thing I have to say may seem a little impolite. Are you sure you want me to say it? Before Dalton could answer, go ahead, young man, just say it. I'm too old to care what people think. Thank you. That's very wise. I hate to have to say this, though. If you remember your mythology, Kevin explained, King Midas insulted the god Apollo and his ears were transformed into donkey ears as punishment. So there could actually be another meaning to this gift, especially for someone as wealthy as Mr. Steele. After saying this, Kevin turned around and looked Tucker in the eyes. Aside from the fact that this thing is fake, I have to ask you, why would you offer something like this on Grandpa Steele's birthday? When he heard this, Tucker's face turned pale, and sweat started to break out on his forehead. The members of the Steele family who were in the room were also very upset to hear this and turned to glare at Tucker. Tucker was desperate, and the only solution he could think of was to turn his attention back on Kevin. Even if what you said is true, my intention was to help celebrate Mr. Steele's birthday. But what about you? Did you come here empty-handed? If it wasn't for your wife, I'll bet you wouldn't even know that today is his birthday. Hey, who told you I didn't bring any gifts? Kevin laughed as he looked at Tucker mockingly. On the way to Dalton's mansion, he'd already sent a message to Miss Wilson. He figured that by now someone should be showing up with his gifts. How can a lowlife like you afford to offer anything interesting? Did you stop off at the gift shop at the mall on the way here? That would still be better than what you brought. Then why don't you show everyone right now? What kind of trash did you bring? If there hadn't been such a big crowd, he really would have taken a swing at Kevin right now. Don't worry, we'll soon see, Kevin said as he crossed his arms in front of his chest. He wasn't worried at all. Kevin, what are you doing? We didn't bring anything, Lily whispered to him anxiously. They had just come out of the hospital and only found out a little while ago that today was Norman Sale's birthday. So where did Kevin find a present so quickly? Just then, there was a lot of commotion at the mansion's entrance, and someone announced, Director Lexi Belmont of Williams Media has arrived. Everyone looked over when they heard that. After all, Williams Media was extremely well respected in Chicago. They all wished that they had a business relationship with the company. Everyone watched Lexi walk into the room. She was wearing a very professional outfit, and she was carrying a large, bright red gift bag in her hand as she walked quickly toward the head table. Lexi, what are you doing here? Did you forget to tell me something? Why didn't you just give me a call? Tucker welcomed his sister warmly. He was very puzzled by all of this. He was originally supposed to come here today with Lexi, but she had something to do at the last minute at work. So she asked him to pick up some gifts and give them to Mr. Steele on her behalf. He certainly didn't expect her to show up right now. But to everyone's surprise, Lexi didn't even look at Tucker. After placing the huge bag on the table, she quickly walked over to Kevin. I'm sorry I'm late, Mr. Williams. I've brought the gifts that you asked me to prepare, Lexi said anxiously, as if she was afraid that Kevin would get angry. That's fine. Actually, you're right on time, Kevin said with a smile. The crowd was shocked to see this. Had she just walked over and apologized to Kevin? Some of them thought they must have heard wrong. If Tucker had brought gifts for Grandpa Steele on her behalf, what was she doing bringing something for Kevin to offer him? But now they clearly heard Lexi call Kevin, the outcast of the Jones family, Mr. Williams. None of this made any sense. But Lexi ignored all the whispering. After hearing that Kevin wasn't upset with her, she gradually relaxed. Thank you, Mr. Williams, she said graciously. No need to thank me. I appreciate your help, and I'm glad that you got here so quickly. Oh, the pleasure was all mine, Mr. Williams. Lily felt her legs start to get weak when she heard this. Why was someone from the upper management of Williams Media being so respectful to Kevin? Tucker also stared in disbelief. His sister had worked her way up the corporate ladder, and it was only with her help that he had been able to get where he was today. But he had never seen his older sister being so courteous and respectful to anyone. Suddenly, Kevin asked slowly, "So, Tucker's your brother?" Yes, he is." "That's nice. Your brother may not be very competent, but he sure knows how to bully someone," Kevin said seriously. Hearing this, Lexi was suddenly very embarrassed, and she stumbled to reply. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Williams. It's all my fault." This made Tucker angry. "Sis, why are you apologizing to... He's just that useless son-in-law everyone's talking about from the Jones family. Before he could say another word, she slapped him in the face. "Lexi, why did you hit me?" Tucker said as he covered his face with his palm. He was confused at her reaction. "What have you done?" she asked him sharply. "I really let you get away with too much. How dare you insult Mr. Williams?" She had known Kevin for a long time, but he had never said anything like this to her. That's why she didn't even bother to ask Kevin what had happened. Lexi knew right away that it was her brother who had been causing trouble, as usual. "But sis, Kevin's just a useless freeloader," Tucker tried to explain. "Shut up right now," Lexi yelled as she slapped Tucker on the other cheek. "I want you to apologize to him immediately." Tucker hesitated. He had no idea why his sister was talking to him like this. "Right now, apologize," Lexi said as she pushed Tucker over to stand in front of Kevin. He looked down at the floor and took a deep breath before he finally mumbled, "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, that was wrong of me. Please forgive me." Everyone started shaking their heads. What a change in Tucker's behavior from just a few minutes ago. Kevin glared at Tucker. He was really sorry to have such an unpleasant scene in front of Grandpa Steele at his birthday party. But Tucker had really asked for it. Suddenly, Kevin's phone rang. He looked at the unfamiliar caller ID and frowned as he picked up the phone. "Hello? May I ask who's calling?" "Mitchell Cook. President Wright, Emo, and Gilbert were all taken hostage by the Williams family. I was also injured," Drake said anxiously. Drake now understood how powerful Thomas Williams was. Kevin's uncle was someone that he couldn't touch, so if he wanted to save Mitchell Cook and the others, he needed Kevin's help. "What did you say? When did this happen?" "An hour or two ago. They're taking them to the Williams mansion in New York." "All right. I got it. Take care of yourself and leave the rest to me," Kevin said as he hung up the phone. "Kevin, what's wrong?" He could tell that the call had upset Kevin. "Dalton, do me a favor. Call some of your men and come with me." Kevin's expression was especially grim as he tried to figure out what to do. The Williams family had actually dared to come to Chicago to abduct Kevin's friends and colleagues. If they could do that, would his parents still be safe in New York City? While Kevin was worrying about this, dozens of members of the Williams family were gathered together in the family mansion near New York City. Randall Williams, the family patriarch, was sitting in an armchair holding his hand-carved walking stick, the one that he liked to bang on the floor or a table to get everyone's attention. Cook, Adriana, Gilbert, and Emo were tied up and sitting on a bench along with Kevin's parents, Alan and Susan. Several of the younger members of the family were standing over them, ready to follow Thomas's orders as soon as he decided what punishment to inflict on them. "Alan, Susan, you haven't taught your son very well. You've indulged Kevin, and now he's offended the family one time too many. According to our family customs, his associates will be horsewhipped 40 times each if Kevin doesn't show his face here. If he does dare to return, he will be whipped twice as many times as a warning to anyone who would dare to oppose the family in the future, and you will also be punished for helping him." "You don't know what you're talking about. My son didn't do anything wrong," Alan spat out, his eyes filled with determination. "Oh, really? Big brother, do you have any idea how arrogant your son is? Father only wanted to teach him a lesson, but he fought back, causing the family to suffer heavy losses. And he will pay for what he's done." Kevin's parents were terrified. They had no idea where their son was, or if he could get there in time.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.